Nestled in Northamptonshire, England, this was once an airbase. Silverstone then became home to the first ever Formula One Grand Prix in 1950 and has since given us some of the most iconic racing moments in Formula One's 75-year history. Fast forward to 2025 and we are here at the midpoint of the season and the stakes could not be higher. Here's the schedule then, FP1 and FP2 for you tomorrow, 12:15 and 3:45, building up to that. Before Saturday, 11:15 for FP3, your pre-qualifying show at 2:30, 3 p.m. for qualifying, all track time, and the reaction straight after in our post-quali show. And on to race day, 10 to 2 for your pre-race show, and a race start of 3 p.m. for the British Grand Prix, and as ever, all of the reaction in our post-race show. All right, before we delve into all things Silverstone, let's take a look back at the barnstorming race that was the Austrian Grand Prix.
From Spielberg in Austria, this is Formula One.
Very stuck in first gear.
There's fire on the brakes.
A good launch off the line for Lando Norris, sees him chop across Charles Leclerc. Oscar Piastri roars around the outside. Antonelli's hit Max Verstappen. That's late on the brakes for Oscar Piastri. Piastri takes the lead on lap 11, and they were millimetres away from contact. Inside line for Lando Norris. This is absolutely wonderful. Lando still leads. What a fight.
This is absolutely brilliant.
They're at it again.
What amazing scrapping between the two.
Look how close Piastri is. He nearly ripped off the front wing.
Bortoletto's having the weekend of his life, hunting in packs, those two.
To double Williams' retirement. Tsunoda and Colapinto, and they make contact and they spin.
What an awful Grand Prix for them.
Piastri onto the grass at high speed. Lando Norris wins the Austrian Grand Prix.
What a race.
Well done, everyone. Beautiful 1-2.
What a race was the exclamation from Jolyon Palmer at the end of commentary there, and you have to agree, it was absolutely spectacular. Lawrence Barretto, Jolyon Palmer, just one of many guests we have on this show to bring you, and what a race weekend that was. The first 20 laps, Jolyon, I was watching through my fingers. Extraordinary racecraft, brilliant racing.
Yeah, give me 20 laps of title rivals doing battles, swapping positions, nearly coming together. Any day. It was amazing. And I feel like this story that's brewing now between the McLarens is becoming a weekly event. And I'm hoping for more this weekend.
And what I loved about that race, it wasn't just that battle at the sharp end. You had great stories like Liam Lawson, who's really kind of show his hand, fighting for his future almost at that team. P6, Gabriel Bortoletto got his first point score as well after showing that he had capable of doing so. So there was a lot going on through the fields.
We had drama in qualifying as well because Max Verstappen, Oscar Piastri, just a couple of drivers unable to get that final run in to really show where they may have come out. Max Verstappen ultimately then qualifying P7, and it was within the melee that disaster struck for him at turn 3, with Kimi Antonelli locking up and just tapping the 4-time world champ and obviously out the race.
Yeah, that's the problem when you can't qualify towards the front end. He should have been there, should have been on the front row, maybe third or fourth, worst case. But you put yourself in the mid-pack, a rookie mistake from Kimi Antonelli that wiped him out. And it was a really tricky day for Mercedes generally. Yeah,
it really was. George Russell qualifying 5th, ultimately finishing 5th, but at one point almost a lap down, all right, with a pit stop in hand. And it just goes to show that motorsport can be cruel and unpredictable. From winners in Canada one weekend to suddenly nowhere the weekend after. And so much of the chatter since around George Russell has been in terms of his contract, Lawrence Barretto. Now, I sat in the press conference here at Silverstone earlier on for the good half hour in which George Russell was in there, and he fielded question after question after question about his contract. And he was clearly adamant there's nothing to report as such, no movement either way. But let's hear what he had to say.
The fact is, you know, Toto has never let me down. He's always given me his word, but he's also got to do what's right for his team, which includes me, but it also includes, you know, the thousands of people who work for Mercedes. For me, it's nothing to worry about because, I don't think I'll be going anywhere, and whoever my teammate will be, it doesn't concern me either. So. Just focus on the driving.
He said focus on the driving a number of times during that press conference. How illuminating that I don't think I'm going anywhere. He reiterated that, saying the likelihood I'm not at Mercedes is very low. I am loyal to Mercedes. I am not talking to any other teams. And whoever my teammate is, I welcome them. So he's perhaps here insinuating that he won't be the one to leave should Max Verstappen secure a signature from Toto Wolff.
It was punchy. I mean, it was far punchier than he was last time out in Austria. I think when he spoke to the media there, he felt almost disappointed, frustrated, irritated at the situation. Today, when he's talking to the media, and we just saw in that tiny clip, he's here and he has no intention of going anywhere. And I think a lot of the chatter in the build-up has been about whether or not, if Max Verstappen does join the team, it's going to be in place of him rather than in front of Kimi. And I think he's obviously just trying to defend himself a little bit, because at the minute, it seems like there is a contract where he's been given confidence that he's going to be joining the team, but no one's given him a pen to put the ink on that paper to really nail it down. And I think that's what he's trying to do, is he's trying to put some pressure on the team.
But loyalties don't really count for anything in this. It's down to performance. So that's where the other part that he's saying, he's concentrating on himself and what he can do on track. That's what matters for George. And actually what he's doing on track is really good.
All right.
Won the Canadian Grand Prix. He's 10-1 up versus his teammate in qualifying. He's not finished behind Kimi in a race either. So from that position, he's thinking, hang on, I'm out of contract end of the year, so is Kimi. It seems clear that Max is speaking to Toto about a potential drive. We don't know if it's for next year. Could be for the year after that either. And it might come to nothing. But George is sitting there thinking, well, hang on, I'm actually doing better. Why are we thinking it's me that's going? The problem is his experience. And Kimi's coming as a rookie. He's 18. He's already had a sprint pole. He's had a Grand Prix podium. He's showing potential. So the thought still is, if Max is coming, it's not going to be to replace Kimi. It's going to be to replace George. And that still makes more logical sense.
I mean, Toto Wolff's only just secured an F1 drive for Kimi Antonelli, something that he has wanted and clung on to for so long. Why would he, I suppose, then throw it away within 1 year with Max Verstappen there? But equally, he's supported and protected George through his career. Right till now, he's a Mercedes driver. So where do you see it all falling next year, Lawrence? Where will Max Verstappen be? Where will George Russell be?
Well, I think there's two things. We saw with Carlos Sainz, he performed so well at Ferrari and he lost his seat. So actually, performance on track is playing very little part in this Toto Wolff decision. He lost out on Max Verstappen all those years ago to Red Bull. He's not going to want to let Kimi go. I can't see a world where he fought so hard to convince the board to let him run Kimi this year. I can't see why he was going to let him go.
He can't.
No, exactly. So what does he do? Because that means he can't keep George.
Then George would go in that scenario. So a couple of things. Oscar Piastri came in as a rookie 2 years ago, and he was a couple of tenths down per lap on average from Lando. Last year he was slightly better than 2 tenths down, but in 2 years he only outqualified Lando 11 times and was on average still 2 tenths away. Now Kimi's 11 races through, he's just coming up to half a season, and he's on average 3 tenths down on George, but he's not far away from Oscar's trajectory, and he's had some highs, and he's 18, he's younger, he's less experienced than Oscar was, who was already a Formula 2 champion when he came in. So should McLaren have ousted Oscar after 11 races of McLaren because he was behind Lando? No, you need to kind of nurture this young talent, and that's the position that they're in, Mercedes. Do they, think about keeping Kimi and bring him through? If they do, then that's at George's expense. It's a tricky balance. Or they keep with what they've got, and it could be a future championship-winning team.
And Mercedes have been so good so far at nurturing Kimi Antonelli, and he, of course, got that podium in Canada, a brilliant weekend for the team. But then from hero to zero in taking out Max Verstappen at just turn 3 of the first lap in Austria. Let's take a look back then and hear from both Kimi Antonelli and Max Verstappen after that incident.
I had normal start, and then going up to T3 I was just trying to maintain position. I didn't want to do anything because I knew there was no space in front, but then when I hit the brake I locked the rear and I got caught by that, and when I locked the rear I lost the car, and then I had to first avoid the racing bull, but then I just couldn't stop the car, and unfortunately I hit Max, and I just feel very sorry towards the team and him, of course.
I spoke quickly to Kimi also. He came even to the hospitality. I mean, I think every driver has made a mistake like that. No one does that on purpose as well. So for me, that's not a big deal.
I think Max's initial response in the car was a swear word and then idiots. And then I think perhaps he anticipated and saw that it was Kimi, and just his reaction then softened, didn't it, Lawrence? It was a great show of sportsmanship from Max Verstappen to say he's a rookie driver, mistakes happen, despite his disappointment at crashing out at his home Grand Prix.
Yeah, fair play to Max. He didn't go after him, but I think he probably saw a little bit of himself in Kimi, and he would have had those incidents early in his career. In fact, we saw them, so it probably would have been unfair for him to really go after Kimi. But those things happen, and he just got caught out. It's ironic that obviously in Kimi tried to avoid Lawson, he took out the other Red Bull in Max, obviously not intentionally, but it's just one of those things in racing. I think Max saw that.
Right, Red Bull. Jolyon, you wrote a great piece on F1.com this week about where that team currently is, because, look, we're going to have to be honest about it. We're winding back to conversations we had in April when we saw a driver switch between Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda. Without Max Verstappen, that team aren't anywhere. Yuki Tsunoda, earlier on in the press conference, said, the issue in Austria was me. Full stop. That was his complete sentence. He is fully putting himself there to blame for how he drove in Austria. But we know there's a perennial issue with that second seat and with that car and how difficult it is to drive. Can anyone get on top of it?
No one so far. It's really difficult. I guess we don't know if you'd put in a Charles Leclerc or a George Russell, which is the mooted conversation
I'd
again.
love an alternate universe where we do this and test it out.
What happens if we put, a potential champion, one of the absolute A-list alongside Max? Because, no disrespect to Yuki or Liam, probably even really Sergio Perez, they're not necessarily your future champion category. They're very good Formula One drivers. So there's still a little question mark there, but Max has a skill and he has a feel for the car that can get more lap time out of a pointy car, an aggressive car that other drivers can't find. So then they try and dial into the balance that they want. It just seems to make the car really slow in the hands. So you watch Yuki's qualifying laps, there's not that much wrong with them. They're okay. You could say maybe a little bit under driving occasionally, small mistakes here or there, but most qualifying laps are not perfect. But Yuki's just not able to find the speed from it. It was understeer in Austria, so maybe he's just settled the car down too much. But then the way the car naturally wants to go is in Max's direction, which is lively, more aggressive, but other drivers are struggling to drive it like that.
Yeah, and Yuki was very clear earlier. He has the full support of Red Bull, but of course Arvid Lindblad has secured that super license. He is waiting in the wings, and I've no doubt we'll see him very soon in an FP1 session or two throughout the season. As look, they're going to have to look to 2026 and what they can do with that Red Bull family and indeed that second seat in the main team. I'm looking over this way because we have a Formula One driver waiting in the wings. I'm going to bring him in. Gabriel Bortoleto.
Hello, Ray.
What a brilliant result for you last weekend, last time out in Austria. Your first ever points in Formula One. Delighted for you. How's it sunk in since?
Well, it's amazing, obviously. My first points in F1. Feels special. Took a bit long, 12 races. But yeah, just glad that finally got it, and in a good way as well, having a very clean weekend.
I know that obviously you always believed that you could score because you'd had some great results up until that. For a confidence perspective and obviously the feeling within the team, was it kind of like a chapter's just been turned and you really feel you can kick on from that performance?
I would say so. I think that, we as a team, we have done a step ahead as well with the car performance. Myself as a driver, being a rookie, I just see how much I improve every single weekend that I jump in the car, what I need from the car, and the way I approach the engineering meetings and everything, a bit more clear view of the weekend. I think all of this helps, to have a clean weekend like you have in Red Bull, and hopefully we can keep up with this momentum and improving.
How has Formula One been for you compared to how you envisaged it at the start of the season? And we're nearly halfway through the season now. Were you expecting this level of one-lap performance? You're with my former teammate as well. He's quick, but you're doing a great job. How are the races panning out? How is it just compared to expectation?
I would say, Nico obviously has been always known by his speed in qualifying. Last year, Mr. Saturday, they used to call him, if I'm not wrong. And obviously coming to a season like this, with one of the strongest qualifiers, I was a bit like, how is it gonna be? Like my pace, I don't know. It's the first time I'm fighting against a Formula One driver, and I've been doing well in the junior series, but you never know how it's gonna be, if you're gonna adapt to the car. But look, I need to be honest, I've been lucky, I've been, to have such a great team behind me, because straight away from the beginning, I felt very comfortable with the car. In Australia, already on pace, and since then, it's been very close between me and Nico. And I would say one of the main differences is, just the view of the race weekend, as I mentioned. I feel like he has so much experience. He's able to understand a bit more the strategies, everything he wants to do in the car, and how to approach the Sunday race. And I feel like I'm getting there on that sense as well. But qualifying has been very positive as well.
What do you think is possible now, Gabby? You've got those points, you've kind of got them on the board, the team is really developing, the upgrades working. Just how good do you think it can be going forward?
I think it can be very positive. I'm positive about what we brought in the car in Barcelona and then last weekend as well. Looks like we did a good step in the right direction. And we need to see, but I mean, we have been in very different tracks like Montreal, Barcelona, and Red Bull Ring, very different styles, and we have been strong in most of them. So obviously a bit more in some of these tracks, but still, it's quite positive. It's not that we had one track that we were super and the other ones we were bad. So I feel that that's quite of a positive thing.
Gabriel, I've got to ask you about Fernando Alonso and whether you got that dinner from him that you said he owed you for the battle you guys enjoyed in Austria.
Well, he owes me a dinner. We joked about it, and now when we get back to Monaco, when we both have free time, we will do something together for sure. Still, like these days, I just have been home and locked in. I did my sim, I did my things that I love to do when I'm in my free time, and that's it. But definitely after Silverstone, I have 2 weeks that I'm gonna go to him and say, now you need to pay my dinner.
Does it feel weird racing him on track?
It does.
Compared to everyone else?
Yeah, it does, because...
I don't want to crash into him.
Yeah, he's my manager, but it's not only that. Like, he's a guy that I've seen racing since I started watching racing. It's like quite crazy to think about it. Well, actually, I don't want to say because it will look like he's old, but I was not born and he was already in Formula One. So it's like...
That is what Formula One is.
Yeah.
19 drivers plus Fernando Alonso in it.
It's just crazy, and especially because he's my manager. I used to talk to him in F3 and F2 and giving me tips and stuff, and now I'm fighting against the guy on track was a bit different. But as he said, and as I said after the race as well, when you close the visor, it doesn't matter who he is or doesn't matter who I am. We're gonna fight as hard as any other driver. I've seen Liam said in the radio when I was catching Fernando, like, oh, he's gonna let him by and he's gonna let him by, and it was the opposite. Fernando gave me such a hard time, keeping me behind. So.
Gabby, thank you so much, and look, best of luck to you here at Silverstone as well. I hope this Sauber run continues. It's wonderful to watch. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great stuff, and brilliant to see the rookies doing well this season as well. All of them surprising us in various ways and really getting on top of things. All right, we're bringing it right back here now to Silverstone. What a track. Jolyon, I'll come to you. You've raced here in F2, you've raced here in F1. You didn't finish here though, did you?
No, I barely raced it. I made it to the start in one.
DNS and a DNF for Jolyon, but an F2 podium.
Yeah, indeed, yeah. One of my greatest losses in F2. But I've loved still driving here anyway, even though I've had a lot of bad luck around here, bringing up some bad memories now.
Another one, do you remember the hot lap we did last year? And you almost put us in the wall at Copse.
If you're not on the limit of Copse Corner, Laura, that's something that I just felt like anyone has to feel. So as we're sideways heading towards the gravel, I thought, this is driving around Silverstone.
My stomach still lurches thinking about it, and you had fully had your tongue out as well. You were more than on the limit. Lawrence, this place is magic, isn't it? This weekend feels huge. Talking about 500,000 people in here this weekend.
I think that's the difference when you come to Silverstone. You've got the people coming in early doors on Thursday. They're here all day. The grandstands were starting to fill up now on a Thursday, just to have a look at the cars in the grid. I think that's what's so passionate about British fans. And they're going to got 4 drivers to support. Hi, Gary. They've got Lewis, they've got George, they've got Ollie Behrman, and they've got George Russell. So, yeah, they've got 4 drivers to support this weekend.
Yeah, Lewis Hamilton obviously knows this place incredibly well. He's won here 9 times. That win last year, so emotional. His first in almost 1,000 days. Jolyon, he's also set the lap record around here. Talk us through it, because this is on the limit.
Yeah, let's have a look at it then. This is back in 2020, which amazingly was the last time that Lewis Hamilton started at the front in the Grand Prix from pole position. Flat out through Abbey and then Farm. This, you just don't want to scrub the speed through the right and the left, but you've got to pick a braking point for Village, turn 3, about 70 metres, get it in, down to 3rd gear, bring it to the right-hand side, and then through the loop, the left-hander at turn 4. You can see how difficult traction is as we're flat out through turn 5. That's Aintree, and now we get DRS down towards Brooklands, and another fast, sweeping, attacking, late on the brakes corner, turn 7. And we're through there, late apex into an early apex of Luffield. hug it for a while, and then just look for that exit curve, and we'll see drivers all over that through the rest of the weekend. Now we're coming up to your favourite corner, Laura. It's Copse. Happy memories of last year, and it's flat out for Lewis Hamilton in 2020. Look how smooth he is on the wheel. Those cars absolutely glued back then. Maggots and Beckett's, exhilarating stuff. Flat through the right, blended out slightly through this one, and then down a gear or two for the final part of Beckett's, using everything on the exit onto the hanger straight, where we'll pick up DRS once again, and we're coming towards the final sector of the lap, and we're down just a couple of gears, braking from that outside curve, turning it in, Stowe corner, running the exit as well, right up as much as you can before the final braking for Vale and Clark, past the grandstands. Outside chance of a little bit of fighting, but normally it's a hard corner to come through with a difficult traction zone to the line, and that is still the lap record set in 2020. And the last year of this set of regulations was 1.5 seconds away last year, so I wonder if we can get a little bit closer, but we're still probably not beating it.
It's just astonishing stuff, and we welcome now Ant Anstead, who's joining us for plenty of fun this weekend. And brilliant to have you along with us. Silverstone, 75 years of racing here in Formula One, so much history. What stands out to you? What makes this place so special?
Well, firstly, thank you for having me here, and it's such a privilege. You know, it's hard not to get romantic, isn't it? I mean, think about it. 1950, 75 years ago, this place has changed immeasurably. And, you know, there's some similarities this year. You know, back in the day, there was a dominant manufacturer, Alfa Romeo, finishing first, second, third, and we go into this race this weekend, 75 years later, with a manufacturer that's dominant. But, you know, I've spent the day wandering around the circuit. It's vast. It has a nostalgia here. This sport that is now, you know, global phenomenon was born on this piece of tarmac. So it's just a privilege to be here. So thanks again for having me.
And look, there are so many fans here in the pit lane, as Lawrence was saying, already packed in on a Thursday. We are expecting 500,000 here this weekend. What does it mean to be a fan, not just here at Silverstone and at the British Grand Prix, but of British motorsport?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because this is the home of British motorsport. And ultimately, when you think about what Formula One has turned into over 75 years, the genesis exists here. And there's something about being a proud Brit, being a car guy. You know, this race means so much to the drivers, yes. And of course, drivers want to win. And secretly, let's be honest, we're maybe egging on some of the British drivers, but you look around and you consider there's a global audience here, but there's a really proud British audience here. And just talking to the fans, they want to come here, they want to be here, they want to share with the world that Britain has an impact on the Formula One world.
Yeah, it really does. You said that you've been wandering around as well. The site is vast. Can you talk us through how much is on offer here? Because it feels to me like it's not just a motorsport event, it's almost a festival, isn't it? Of all things, a celebration of all things motorsport.
Yeah, this is a perfect venue. You know, there's a lot of families here, there's a lot of young people, and it's not just what goes on around the track. You know, I mean, the size of this place is vast, and it's interesting as well because Silverstone's also a little bit of its own ecosystem. The amount of times I've been here, and Jolyon, I think you're the same, it's sunny outside but raining inside. So, you know, we expect maybe some different weather. But, you know, it's obviously a big fun event. There's music, there's things for the family, there's tons of tents, people are camping, people are here. And what a fantastic way to make an event out of a whole weekend.
Jolyon and I have decided that we're going to camp here next year. I really want to do a bit of camping. Yeah, thank you. I mean, look, that aerial shot just showing it. We welcome in Izzy Browning now as well, lead commentator for F1 Kids. And of course, that's back. You've done a couple of races so far, back here for Silverstone. How excited are you to bring that broadcast to a whole new generation?
So excited. I mean, first of all, thank you for having me. It's great to be here, and also great to be at Silverstone, a place that offers so much great racing. And yeah, as you say, F1 Kids back this weekend. We were doing our race last weekend for Austria as well, and it's a privilege, honestly, to be a part of that show. I mean, it's something a little different. We're talking about the racing, but we're also talking about fun facts to do with the tracks that we're racing at and things like that. And it's really giving something different and bringing a new generation of fans, which will hopefully be fans for years to come.
And what else can those watching who perhaps want to tune into a slightly different broadcast, maybe they've got some kids who are watching us as well, what can they really expect in terms of how it looks, the graphics, and what you guys are giving them?
I mean, first of all, you can expect a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun, and it really is a lot of fun to be part of the broadcast as well. You can expect different graphics, as you say, different commentators. The kids are absolutely amazing, seasoned professionals and very young as well. And you can also just expect a lot of fun, a lot of insight, things that are different. So we're talking fun facts, we're talking national animals to do with the places that we're racing, and yeah, so much fun.
Quality content. You love a bit of national animal chat.
Was it
in
talk
FP,
up
don't
the hedgehog? What's the classic British animal going to be then?
The one for this weekend is a lion. Has to be a lion.
A lion?
Yeah, there's a strong pause there. But as a new father, you're a new father now. You have to dedicate an animal to your new child.
We're going well off script here. You're right. I feel like he's going to be a lion at heart as well.
Oh.
But I had to say, the F1 kids as well. So the knowledge they have is really, really impressive. I met them a few times, and they know their stuff. So whether it's national animals or Formula One cars on track, it's very impressive.
Yeah, they really do. And look, it's not just here at Silverstone as well that Formula One is taking over for this week. We had some amazing fan zones in London, both McLaren and Williams, Aston Martin with activations in the city. And then Formula One had its very own reception at Downing Street as well. Formula One taking itself to the very heart of government there with Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister. Brilliant to see. And Izzy, thank you both very, very much indeed. Formula One fever well and truly taking over London, well and truly taking over Great Britain. It's also, of course, taken over Las Vegas, and Lawrence and I got a taste of that at the Grand Prix Plaza. Welcome to the heart of speed and spectacle, Grand Prix Plaza.
There's an incredible experience inside, and we're going to go check it out.
Spanning 39 acres and anchored by the world's largest pit building, this is Formula One like you've never seen before.
Look at the level of detail here.
Incredible.
And when the Grand Prix isn't in town, this epic pit building is still open year round.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And from Lawrence and I sipping cocktails in Las Vegas to the fans here at Silverstone, as if on cue, they have flocked around us here on their pit lane tour. Brilliant to see. We also welcome in Alex Jakes, our lead commentator, and Ruth Buscombe, former F1 strategist turned our very own strategist. Guys, Silverstone doesn't get much better, does it?
No, I remember being a kid up in the grandstands, being here, you know, a little bit older, wiser. It's just amazing, nothing like home.
And Jakesy, this race last year was one of the all-time greats. I rewatched it in anticipation of this weekend. I was on the edge of my seat and I knew the result.
Yeah, it was a classic, wasn't it? Brit 1, 2, 3 on the grid. They all led the race. 5 drivers could have had the win. Max wouldn't give up despite the car disadvantage. And then Lewis Hamilton ending that winless streak. Some of the most emotional scenes we've seen after any Grand Prix, let alone the British Grand Prix.
Yeah, and of course Lewis Hamilton has played a huge part in F1 the movie as well. That's out now in theatres if you guys have seen it. If not, do head out and take a look at it. Lewis Hamilton here, though, that win last year, I mean, the first in almost 1,000 days since that 2021 campaign. It was something special, wasn't it? And to do so in a race where it could have gone any which way, as you say.
It was one of those I was there moments, but how long ago does that feel now, given his trials and tribulations with Ferrari at the start of the campaign?
His legacy here, though, guys, and his prowess as well in the wet. And look, we do see some rain here in the UK. I'll be honest, we may well see some this weekend as well. But Lewis Hamilton, this place, the wet, he can bring something out of a car, but can he do it in the Ferrari this year?
I mean, logic would say it's going to be difficult for him. I don't think it's going to be the easiest weekend for Ferrari generally with the circuit layout. And, you know, Lewis is struggling for form. Let's be honest. He's not quite as quick as Charles, and his race pace isn't quite there, even if it was better in Austria. But Silverstone's just weird. Things like last year happen. Yeah. It'll come towards him at some point. Even 2022, he was having a really miserable time of it at the start of this set of regulations. And he's on another world, might have won that Grand Prix as well, but got back to a podium. He's always on the podium here. It's been, what, 12 years, I think, since he wasn't on the podium at the British Grand Prix, which is just incredible. So logic would say no, but then logic might say, of course, he'll be on the podium again.
And Ruth, what do you make of Ferrari's form, the upgrade, of course, coming? It's taken a step forward, both drivers say. Is it a big enough step, though?
You know, it's difficult to say because they're always there. You know, Charles, another podium, great podium last race. And I do think in dry it's going to be tough, but, you know, the British summer might come through for the sunny hills of Maranello. And as you say, in those wet to dry conditions, we haven't seen anything that says that Ferrari can't perform and we cannot get a 10th Lewis Hamilton win round here. Bearing in mind, 2008, his first win round here, the Ferrari was pretty speedy. Felipe Massa was the guy that nearly took in his Ferrari the race win off of Lewis, who also managed to pip him that day for his first win round here.
What makes Lewis Hamilton not just so good around this track, but also so good in the wet? And we are expecting a little bit of rain perhaps Sunday.
I feel that's quite loaded, standing next to an actual Formula One driver. But I will say, high-speed cornering. He's always been phenomenal at the high-speed corners around here. And actually, you know, when the track is drying around here, those wet to dry conditions, you really see driver talent excel because the track is changing, the braking points are changing every time. And home advantage is a huge thing here. One of the cool things about when you are actually at the track here is you can hear when a home hero is about to win the race. You can hear it around the whole track. And I'm sure you'll say that does give you a couple of extra tenths when it really matters.
It gives you a boost, absolutely, turning up as a Brit. I would have taken a couple of tenths, but I'll take the nice feeling,
race,
the
though,
warm feeling inside.
Oh, I feel like we've been quite hard on Joe.
Well, you have been. We've come back to make him feel $1 million by the end of the show.
Yeah, I've had a tough time here in the past. The thing is for Lewis, though, like, it's an innate skill that's made him a 7-time world champion. You know, he's got a feel for grip. When it rains, that's exaggerated, and so the best shine even more. But I feel like the whole field at the front is so competitive now. You've got Max, he's unbelievable in the wet. If it rains, I wouldn't rule Max out of a win. Both the McLaren guys, prowess in the wet. You've got George as well. The depth at the front is so good, not discounting Charles either in the other car, that Lewis is still there, but the competitive order between the top 4 teams is that tenths will make a big difference. And if it rains, there are a few other rainmeisters out there, so it won't be a slam dunk, but it might still be possible.
Yeah, it seems tougher than ever, doesn't it, for Lewis Hamilton to make it onto the podium for this weekend, a race he has been on the podium for over a decade now. Weather, cloudy, overcast, mixed, wind as ever here at Silverstone, and the heat wave, don't laugh at us for those who don't live in the UK. It has been a heat wave in this country, I can assure you. Anything above 28 degrees is unbearable here. It's kind of passed us over. We now have pretty changeable weather through the weekend. Ruth, what does that forecast look like in terms of when we may expect rain, and what therefore is the strategy for this weekend?
Well, the strategy is as unpredictable as English summer weather, so changeable, and you have to react to what's happening. At the moment, tomorrow looks dry, so around 25 degrees Celsius, great weather for collecting data. After that, it all changes. So Saturday, 60% chance of rain in FP3 and 50 kph winds in qualifying that at the moment looks dry, but those crosswinds have caught cars out, especially in that Maggots-Beckett's complex, which is pretty important for a qualifying lap. Then, of course, Sunday, slightly cooler, 19 degrees, with a 40% chance of rain, which means it can go either way. So if it's dry here, we've gone one step softer than last year. So we've got the C2, which was the race tyre last year, the C3 and the C4. So dry could be a medium hard one stop. That's the only one stop that's even vaguely possible in terms of wear here, which is what we're limited by. 2 stop, crunching the numbers, soft, medium, medium looks fastest, but I quite like a medium hard, hard. I quite like to keep those 2 hards, because if the English clouds doth open, last year's race, we saw Lando Norris take that C3 tyre and it underperformed compared to that C2 medium. So I quite like the look of the white hard tyre this race weekend.
He was overtaken, wasn't he, in the dying laps to finish P3. Max Verstappen overtook him on that hard tyre. McLaren didn't get their strategy quite right last year. They could have won that race. This year, they come into it as defending champions and a team that are leading the team standings by an awfully long way, almost double the points.
Last year was their biggest chucked away win. Both cars could have won the Grand Prix. They sent Oscar around a lap longer than he needed to. Lando went long in his pit box, and that cost him time, then got past. Yeah,
but
that was...
Last year they had a few contenders for most chucked away win, though, didn't they?
They did, but I think that one was
Monza,
the one that
Canada,
that stung the most, though. I think that stung the most, because that was... Yeah, they should have been 1 and 2. And the expectation is that they're going to be 1 and 2 again, but it's Formula 1 in 2025, nothing's a given. Especially if it's chilly. I feel that if it's chilly, George Russell's motivation is going to be sky high.
Oh, God.
And it's going to be under 20 degrees at the moment is the thing, other than rain. So, yeah, McLaren need to find a way through to avenge last year.
George Russell could well do his talking on the track here, couldn't he? It was a pole position for him last year, and then ultimately a DNF. But for Lando Norris, earlier on in the press conference, he said to me, well, he said to everybody, to all the gathered media, that he would throw away all of his wins for a win here. This is the one he wants the most. This is the one that will make him smile the most. And you can see in his reaction here, we're about to show you from 2024, how much throwing this one away hurt.
I'm pretty disappointed. I didn't do a very good job today with the calls, with knowing when to box. So, yeah, just... yeah, I don't know what to say. So many things are good, so many things are in place, just not executing things the way I want to, the way I need to. So I'm just not to the level I need to be at. It's quite simple. I'm, not performing at the level of the others at the minute. But, something I need to work on.
Well, given the advantage they seem to have, would it be an even bigger throwaway if they didn't win here? Are they absolutely nailed on favourites? Or, as Alex said, are Mercedes coming back into contention with the cooler temperatures?
Pre-weekend, they're nailed on, aren't they? But you never know how things are going to play out, and the rain as well might change everything to give opportunities to others. But they have the dominant car. We saw it in Austria. We're seeing it across such a vast range of different circuits. You come here, lots of fast corners, a few slow corners as well at the loop, and that mix is normally good for them. Long, fast corners is normally good for them. They both like this circuit as well, Lando and Oscar. A lot of drivers do. It's a real driver's track, but they've had great form here in the past. So I think here on Thursday, you'd say one of them should win the race. So if neither of them do, obviously they're going to be a bit gutted at this point.
Jake C, you thoroughly enjoyed those first 20 laps last weekend, didn't you?
Yeah.
Wheel to wheel between two title contenders. It was stunning stuff. Are we expecting more of the same today? And how do you think that may have moved the dial in the way in which McLaren implement the rules of engagement?
It's interesting. The drivers were very, very clear. I mean, the fact that Oscar came across the line and the first thing he said was, hey, sorry about turn 4. He knew how close they came to giving Charles Leclerc the Grand Prix victory. It's going to be far harder to stay as close as he did around this circuit with the long, fast corners. So we're going to see battling. We've seen epic battling, but I don't think it's going to go 20 laps. This is a massive one. If Lando does back-to-back wins, momentum shift in the championship, game on for the rest of the year.
And Ruth, considering what happened last year to McLaren, what lessons will they have learned from the strategy they implemented then in pitting their drivers pretty much a lap too late to allow Lewis Hamilton to take the win? In terms of winning the championship, being in winning positions and getting those results across the line, how much have they learned?
I think they've learnt a lot. I think what we saw in that Australian Grand Prix that opened the season, they nailed it with Lando. Maybe they still had a little points to lose with Oscar, leaving him out. I think it's going to be about securing a 1-2 for them, and I think nothing else should be on their focus. I think the double stop, they've got that first pit box this year, which makes a big difference in general places. Here it's in the middle. So I think they're going to be focused on learning from what they got wrong last year, trying to nail it, and then being wary of a Lewis Hamilton in the wet.
The car gives them a bit of breathing space, though, this year. They don't need to be 10 out of 10 to get a race win, which they did last year. Now they can be a sort of 8 out of 10 McLaren performance. They're going to be in contention, and 9 out of 10 will win it.
Well, F1 Fantasy is going to be a nightmare, isn't it? Which McLaren driver are you putting in, and who else are you backing? Maybe it's a Mercedes weekend, but do get your teams ready and take a look at all the data, of course, through Friday and Saturday free practice before qualifying later on. I'm going to ask you all now for one name, please, for your winner of the British Grand Prix, as Esteban Ocon goes by to a cheer and a wave.
I'm going to go for Norris. Back-to-back wins.
Oof. He needs it, that consistency for a title fight.
He needs to find a groove, and I think now is the time for him.
Great stuff. Ruth?
Yeah, Lando.
A Lando Norris win.
I was going to go for Lando, but it's incredibly boring television. So you know what? Perfect 10 for Lewis.
Wow.
A perfect 10 for Lewis Hamilton. You're just saying that to appease the British fans gathered here, aren't you?
It's good. I like making good TV, Laura.
Great stuff. Well, you've made it. Thanks, Alex Jakes. Thanks, Ruth Buscombe. Thanks, Jolyon Palmer. Thanks to all of you for watching as well. Consider your weekend warmed here for the British Grand Prix. Warm for how long, though? It is the UK after all. We'll see you tomorrow for FP1. Bye for now.
Formula One's original Grand Prix.
A classic race.
Welcome to a celebration of Formula One around this famous circuit.
A home race.
His ninth win at Silverstone.
Get in there, Lewis!
What Silverstone. Norris and Piastri separated by nothing.